Hello, good afternoon, Facebook peeps. Today is what, February 3rd. Wow, time is just ticking and moving really, really fast. It can slow down a little bit now, though, in some ways. But how about that? A country, just my first thoughts, and then I'll get it off my chest. But a civilization so divided where half of its members have to create their own reality because they cannot tolerate anything that's in their current reality. So I guess there's an alternate halftime show for the Super Bowl. Wow. What a way to bring everybody together. Okay, anyway. Yeah, it's just become comical anymore. However, today's theory lesson, remember what we've learned so far in Theory 1 and Theory 2. Key of C, okay? We're using Key of C. Why? Because it's the basic, stripped down, most bare, form of music, that we can start from. It's, where we start all the formulas from and all the numbers and patterns. So we learned what? The C major scale, the G major, and the F major. What were the most important things? That E to F, well, there's 7 letters, A to G, and then it starts over again. E to F and B to C are half steps away from each other, where every other note to the note next to it is a whole step. Okay? Half step meaning it's a smaller distance than a whole step. And I'll give you some examples in the next day or so when I sit down at a keyboard and actually give sound explanations. But today's lesson is on relative minor keys. What are minor keys? Minor keys, major keys are happy. Okay, that's what do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, bum, bum, bum. Okay, so that's what we learned in first grade with the Von Trapp family and do, a deer, a female deer. Okay, there's a reason why we had to sit in general music class back when there was general music classes in public schools, and back when there were public schools, but those will probably become extinct soon. That's why tutoring is becoming all the rage, and I just joined 3 other platforms on 23 platforms now. Jeez. So anyway, whenever we see a key signature, which is going to be after the clef, okay, that tells us what key we're playing the song in. Everyone always mentions the major key. 1 sharp, oh, that's the key of G. Okay, 1 flat, oh, that's the key of F, sorry. 2 flats, that's the key of B flat. Okay, 2 sharps, oh, that's the key of D. Okay, and everyone always mentions the major key that it's in. However, no one ever says, okay, the key of 2 sharps, that's the key of B minor. Or the key of 1 sharp, oh, that's the key of E minor. Or the key of 3 flats, that's the key of C minor. See, no one ever says that, okay, because that's not customary. However, all of these minor keys need a home also. Okay, what the heck am I talking about? So, the minor key, which is more somber sounding key, bum, 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 bum. It's a sad song, da 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 da. But if we were to turn it to a happy song, then we would have our major. Okay? So that's what all this stuff means. So the minor keys need a home also. So every major key, excuse me for a second, tub of coffee, every minor key needs a home also. So, the relative minor key is based on the sixth scale degree of the major scale. So, remember, there's 3 different ways to perceive the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's 1, okay? That's 8 notes. The other one is by numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? That's how you hear, oh, all of those songs are the 1, 4, 5 progression. That's what that means. Okay? Each scale degree has a number, and it's always the same. In the key of C, the 3rd scale degree is what? E. The 5th scale degree is what? G. Okay? And remember, when we're counting or looking for notes, okay, it's going to be the one next to it, okay, and the alphabetical order also, okay. So in this case, in the key of C, we can count up 6. I wrote it going up and down because we need to know the scale going up, and we need to know the scale going downwards also. So we can either count up 6 scale degrees, and there we have our relative minor key. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what's the 6th scale degree in the key of C? A. Okay, so now we have A to A, that's going to be A minor. So if somebody says no sharps or flats, that's the key of A minor. They're right also, if they also, but like I said, musicians and mostly everybody who speaks of keys, whenever we speak of keys, 2 sharps, that has the key of, that's key of D. 4 sharps, that's the key of E. 3 sharps, that's the key of A. No one ever says the minor key. Okay? The 3 sharps, that's the key of F sharp minor, which would also be true, but we rarely hear it like that. Okay? Now, what I used to do was I used to count down 3 because it was closer. That's why I put it going the other direction. Okay? So we can count up 6 notes from our root. Okay? C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay? Or we can count down 3, which I used to do because do, ti, la, and there's our A. Okay? And it's closer to count down 3 than it is to count up 6 to figure out these relative minor keys. Now, after a while, with repetition, persistence, repetition, and patience, remember that being the three learning curves that I work with, okay? Persistence, repetition, and patience, and practice. We need to keep going over this stuff, and then it becomes second nature, where we don't have to sit. It's like the guitarist who has to look at the fingers, until the fingers become accustomed to the fretboard. Same thing with the pianist, okay? A lot of the learning music, it's not even brain knowledge, it's actually technical also. Okay, so that is your theory lesson for today. So, summary being, after we learned what we learned already, the relative minor key in any given major key is based on the 6th scale degree of the major scale. Again, so that you understand what that means. I just erased it. But we have that C to C, okay? So we count C, D, E, F, G, A minor, okay? If we're in the key of G, for example, we write down G, and remember, we go in the order of the alphabet, no letter repeats, okay? We go G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? What we did yesterday. And then when we go whole, half, whole, half, we end up having to sharp the F, okay? So we end up with the E to F sharp being a whole step. and then we end up with the half step F sharp to G. Okay, so again, the sixth scale degree is the relative minor. So in the key of G, what would it be? We count up 6, okay? G, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so we're at E. Or we can count down 3. G, F sharp, E. Okay, yeah, you have to really watch this from the beginning to understand what the heck I'm talking about right now, because those of you who just joined, I'm explaining music theory using numbers and patterns. So if you miss any part of it, you have to make sure you understand, what numbers and patterns, where and how. But what we just covered was the relative minors in every major key are based on the sixth scale degree, or the La, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La. Okay? So, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. That is your theory lesson for today, relative minors. And if you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions, feel free to send me a direct message. You can send me a text at 484-544-2541, or you can send me an email, dnazareth@aol.com. For I do feel it is my purpose on this earth to spread knowledge of music, and I've spent a good 30 years trying to come up with taking the rocket science out of it, trying to make it as easy as possible so anybody and everybody can understand it and learn it. Okay? So again, if you need anything, if you have any questions, tomorrow we're gonna keep where we're at, and we're gonna talk about triads. Okay? So how the chords are made up. Okay? They're not just randomly thrown into a hat, and well, sometimes, but yeah, and it's kind of funny how music just fell into this like perfect system too over the centuries, because nobody woke up one day and said, oh, I'm going to invent music, and it's going to have 5 lines and 4 spaces, and it's going to sound like this, and the 3 primary chords in C are going to be C, F, and G. No, I mean, that's stuff that took centuries and decades, since the cavemen playing rocks and spoons made out of bone, or however it was. But anyway, tomorrow, so I'm making this a daily thing. This is day 3. I know it's the work week. However, my personal work day doesn't really start until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then I go till 11 at night, because a lot of my students are West Coast, which is 3 hours behind us. So when I'm teaching 6 o'clock, it's 3 out there. Okay, but every day at noon, for you guys and whoever's interested, I'll have a little lesson. Try to keep it as simple and short as possible. I'll have a little lesson in something that I hope you understand a little bit more than what you did when you first tuned in. So, great seeing you all. Have a great day. Have a great week. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. And God bless.